Okay guys, I just noticed my internet cable's actually out, so give me 1 second, maybe. But I think some of you have heard the news by now of what I did, and it was quite an unpopular opinion, and probably rightly so, so just give me a second to make sure we got a stable connection going. And this is a never-ending cord. What the hell? All right, figured it out. So, how we doing today, guys? I am exhausted. I got 4 hours of sleep last night because my neighbors decided to set off fireworks for New Year's and my dog literally had a panic attack. So, I'm tired, and as already, if you looked in the chat and the name of this video, I took back r/gettingbigger. And I'm gonna try my best not to ruffle any feathers moving forward, because there's just no point to it. Like, we are getting upset about the politics of a dick subreddit, and basically, I know I am like a lot of the issue, and it has to do with a lot of my past actions, like, you know, not being able to contain my emotions is a good way to put it, right? So, moving forward on r/gettingbigger, there's just no drama allowed. Like, I will personally take it down, all that shit. But the way I saw it is that the relationship between me and the mods that I removed after my hostile takeover was beyond repair, and that we would never be able to work together, and we'd almost always be in an antagonist fashion. So either I had to leave or they did. So since I still kept the power, that's something that they probably realized. And, you know, I just knew this probably wasn't going to end well, so I made sure that I still had the kill switch, so to speak. I removed them, I put myself back in charge, and mainly there was a few things that were not being addressed that I found very important. One, it was incredibly difficult for new people to get answers, and new people that just joined the community to engage. And that was one of the main things about r/gettingbigger when I was there, is that you needed to be able to get help when you needed it and be able to be part of this community. So we changed it so that way you just needed to have positive community karma. If you're posting something stupid and get negative karma right away, well, I'm sorry, that's just how it's gonna be. But like, if you just joined, you gotta wait 3 days before you can post, but that's about it. It's just to limit spam. Then the other major issue that I had with r/gettingbigger is that they made it so that it kind of became like a, I don't want to say marketing haven, but really easy to like manipulate the trends on the subreddit. So we had a rule that we basically didn't allow any affiliate posts. You were allowed to be a vendor on there. We welcomed you on there, but you actually had to be useful and you couldn't just be posting your products. We also didn't really allow affiliates at the time. Those rules are back in place. So if you are a vendor, you can be on there, except for one, and you know who it is. But you can't just be, you know, doing advertising nonstop. You actually have to be useful, because Getting Bigger is supposed to be about the community, growing your dick. Yes, I grow, or I mean, I sell products, right? That's where a lot of this issue started. But like, I think I have an immaculate track record of not even talking about my product in r/gettingbigger and saving it for the YouTube. So if you do what I do, where you have products on the side and you educate mainly, you can continue doing that. Just don't bring your products to r/gettingbigger. That's really all that's changed. We did lose a few useful posts, but you know, I'd written, you know, at least 300 pages in the ebook. I can easily just truncate it down and paste together what was lost when this messy transition. And just so you guys know, if you think what I did was egregious, and I completely understand, they made a new subreddit in spite of this. I think it's, what is it? The Science of PE. So r/the Science of PE. I highly encourage you to join it, but I will not be participating because, again, I am trying to cut out all the bullshit from my life and, you know, kind of just be more hopeful, and getting rid of the drama is the easiest way to do it. So to me, this entire situation was about ripping off the Band-Aid that needed to be ripped off, honestly, 3 months ago, and I finally stopped caring about people's perception of me enough to follow through with it. Okay. I am looking at questions now. Let's see. So first thing, Mr. Tula, he's had the flu for 3 days and he had poor erection quality. Should I worry? No. Like, it's going to take you probably at least a week to get back to normal after the fact. And just in general, anytime I'm a little sick, my erection quality drops. Like, I've been sick for 2 fucking weeks. It sucks. Your erection quality is just going to be a little bit lower than normal, but it'll come back as soon as you're done. Don't overdo a PE because you can actually cause more of a stress response because you're already so stressed out. So, like, if you're doing anything, just light pumping. Jung Irvin. I tried PE and stretched at a sharp angle, which caused a soft bump around the base of the PE. Some kind of deformation. Doesn't cause problems, but I'm curious about its cause and if it can be fixed. So, like, a small bump, usually some kind of lymphocele, right? But if it was from manual stretching, it might actually be kind of like part of the ligament that you exposed. If it doesn't go away, keep an eye on it, but I would personally stay away from any, how would you put it, PE for like a week or so, see what happens. Happy New Year, Destroyer and Jay. I kind of answered what changes I was making again. We're not allowing vendors and affiliates and like people that just joined the community just have to wait 3 days to post. That's about it. We're still trying to figure out what we're doing with photos because, you know, people like to show off their dicks for no particular reason, but we'll get there when we get there, right? Jamar, can frequent pumping with feeder sets help with longer lasting hard-ons? I struggle to go multiple rounds in bed due to me going soft after one round and not just being as hard as before. So you are dealing with like a normal hormonal response, right? Like, your body's going to tell you that you ejaculated. You don't have to ejaculate again. Therefore, you literally have hormones in your dick telling you to not get hard. So that's called the refractory response. And we are working on like a supplement for that specifically, but pumping all day will like increase like the muscle endurance of the penis. So the ischio-cavernous muscle will get stronger and be able to flex for a longer period, and then you should be able to keep your erection longer. But if you ejaculate, it's just going to go away. You know, like, it's just like you're not gonna have that same strength to the erection. Okay, so flying suit, people will never be happy. Yeah, and I was kind of the issue because I was one of those people I'll never be happy. So if we want happiness, we got to make it for ourselves. So again, everything that went down yesterday was for the sake of peace, and we can just move on and grow from there. Jeff Hayes. When they say average size is 5.1, is that bone press? So there are many different averages right now, right? Depends on what study you go off of. I've seen studies that say 5.1. I've seen studies that say like 5.7. So we can just assume it's probably going to be between 5.1 and 5.7, right? But bone pressed is normally what these studies go off of. And like, that means the average non-bone pressed dick is more than likely less than 5 inches. So like, most guys are not walking around exposed 5 inches unless they're relatively lean. So just keep that in mind. Like, porn has literally fucked up most of our brains and we don't realize how much they've done it. Hello, Couch Dog. He is one of the mods that stayed on with r/gettingbigger in the upheaval. So appreciate you for coming on. And Red. Yeah, one thing's to say strictly dickly. That's all I'd be saying at the moment. Recovering from a nasty hangover, party too hard. Well, I'm glad you had fun last night. I certainly did not. Dashatorius, good for you, BD. This was not a decision I wanted to make, guys. Like, I need to make that clear that this fucking sucked. And like, it was against a lot of like my own morals doing this. Like, I want to work with people, but it got to the point where like it just needed to wipe the board so we can all start clean. Okay, Eddie. Hi, man. Is a piss stream weird after pumping? So yes, your piss stream will be a little weird because you literally have the tip of your urethra like inflamed. So like, if you ever push down on a garden hose with your thumb, you know how it does a split stream and shoots everywhere? It's literally the same idea. It's that there's not an easy open flow out. So like sometimes after I pump, I have to pee in the shower, you know, but like it's totally normal. It should fix itself within 5 to 10 minutes if I'm being totally honest. Nacho Macho. When I put the silicone sleeve on the scar line and put on the male hanger and pull the glands and sink into the foreskin, is the male hanger too loose? How do I know if it's too tight? So obviously if it hurts, it's too tight. Excuse me guys, 1 second. I figured out how to mute this. So anyway, male hanger should slide up about 1/4 of an inch when you just put it on, because the skin behind it's loose, so that way it's pulled tight. But after that, it should not really move after like the initial 1/4 of an inch. That being said, I noticed like if I start sweating a little bit, it can start moving, but that also happens like a vacuum hanger too. So just make sure it's comfortable and secure after the first like 30 seconds of hanging. Okay. Forsaken, the king of getting bigger has returned. Don't want any like weird titles like that, guys. Like again, I just want there to be peace. Like it's been literally bullshit for 2 or 3 years on r/gettingbigger that came up almost monthly at a point. So like the only way we're gonna fix this is if we nip it in the butt, and I'm going to do that moving forward. Like all the actions I took this yesterday were literally just for the sake of peace at this point. So okay. Little pickle. Pee can really be addiction. I can't recall how many times I've been late out work because I wanted an extra pumper clam set. Pee is a good addiction, but I think porn is really bad and should be avoided. So that's honestly kind of insane that you miss some work because of PE. I don't think I've ever done that. No, I definitely did when I was like working from home during COVID, but yeah, you need you need a bit of self-control. Like again, the more work you do doesn't necessarily mean the more gains will come in. So just try to keep control of it. But like in general, mixing PE with porn can kind of be a slippery slope, because like if you have to watch porn while you pump, you're like consuming at least 20 minutes of porn every day, and that's probably really bad for your psyche. So okay, Dashatorius, you founded GB with Red, right? Yes. You even came up with the name, it's your subreddit. So like, again, I didn't want it to be mine, like to begin with. Like there was multiple points where I just wanted to leave Reddit in general. Like I had this point where, let's say in May of 2021, where like, okay, it's either I do that and just let the community go, like I did all I could at the time and get back to my normal life, or double down into it. And I doubled down into it. But like, my original intent with getting bigger was never to be like a permanent mainstay member, but like I don't know many people that I can actually trust with it to like actually stay with the message, and they're gonna make it out to be like, oh, he's just trying to sell his products. Again, guys, how often do I forget to plug my own stuff in my own videos here? Like it's not about that. I really just want to help as many guys as possible, and if I can get you a cheap dick pump that works really well at the same time so you don't get price gouged by someone else, by all means I'm gonna do it. So yeah. Eddie, how far to space out sex or solo from a pumping session? So like you can literally have sex right after pumping. I know guys that will literally pump up during foreplay and then just go for it. If you're talking like for the purpose of gains, you probably want at least 2 to 3 hours between jerking and pumping, just so you can keep that inflammation around. But there's no hard set rule. Like to be honest, guys, I probably jerked off after like 90% of my PE sessions, and you can see my gains. So like it's more like optimization at that point. But you know, in general, you probably should not be making the cue like once you do PE, you can jerk off, because then you do PE, therefore you habitually jerk off afterwards. Okay, Alex. Does blank make sense to BFR massage and diamond jelk after length before girth, or will it be counterproductive? So you can do massage before girth. You shouldn't really be doing it after girth. It doesn't really matter if you do it before or after length. I just noticed faster elongation with doing like the massage mechanics before length. And again, guys, 4 hours of sleep, I'm a little slow, so forgive me. But like, main thing is just don't massage after girth, because then you're actually pushing out that inflammation that we want for the shape change. Blade. Happy New Year. Saw your thread on GB about pre-op pumping. What are your thoughts about this? Saw this concept in other places too. You must have really dug deep, because I haven't talked about like pre-op pumping proper in a while. So it's a really bad idea. And this is actually the thing that caused me to realize that me and the mods are never going to see eye to eye. Former mods, now that I should say. Basically, if you put a clamp on and then pump, you are occluding how much pressure you can put into the dick, right? So like you're closing the faucet while trying to simultaneously pull more water out of the faucet. That's going to cause a huge pressure imbalance in the dick. And like you can cause some kind of rupture. Normally it's going to start in the skin, because those are the weakest blood vessels. But like if you do it too violently, you can easily like burst a dorsal vein, penile artery, or even rupture the corpus cavernosum, tunica albuginea, you know, matrix, whatever you want to call it. So in general, pump separately, clamp separately, very effective. Mixing them together is like literally trying to do two things at once that are at complete opposition of each other, because clamping is going to get you to your biggest erection possible, and then you're going to occlude to the point where you can't allow any more pressure in naturally. And since there's so much pressure built up into the penis, if you try to exert more pressure into the penis too fast, particularly, you can burst, like literally something in your dick. It is a really bad idea, and people really should not be promoting it. J Thunder, I have a large gray vibration motor and just purchased a smaller gray motor. Where is 40 hertz located on the motor? Do I have the little thing? So like this is a different dial. If you bought the gray motor, you're gonna get like a smaller power source, and let me unplug it. Wrong one. Yep. Do-do-do-do. Sorry guys, I accidentally unplugged my camera. What do you know? Okay. So if you're looking at the gray motor, 40 hertz is still going to be about 1/3 on the dial, but you're actually probably safe enough to go all the way up to like 80% on it, because it's such a smaller motor. I wouldn't recommend it right away, because these frequencies haven't been tested that much. But like the dangerous part about the gray motor is how like much power it gets, and then that really like starts fucking up your tissues. We're really just trying to stimulate the stem cells and like cause the hydrogen bonds and the collagen to break, so we don't need that much energy. So yeah, that like start at 30% on the dial. So like again, that's going to be like, you see how there's yellow notches? It's like between the 3rd and 4th notch. All right, back to chat. Hitman, I made a new PR, of course, 20 centimeters in the pump, 20.5, and I can fill it up in 5 minutes. I need to take a 1 break off every 90 days now. Is this the 2.1 that you just bought? Because if so, there's something fucky with your dick, dude. It's not a normal dick. Samuel, now that you have banned a 19 expansion, he has made a pretty penny from r/gettingbigger. Like, I don't care if he's made a pretty penny. I just think for the most part, he was not conducive to a good community, because like he did a lot of fear mongering, and he would only talk about how much women care about a big dick and blah, blah, blah. And like, he just never had good advice. And it got to the point where I had people reach out to me about him, stressed out about like how much he's made like all these insecure based posts. So like to me, he's always been an issue on r/gettingbigger, and he's avoided multiple bans already. I don't know how he's got through so many of them, and some of them weren't even when I was a mod. So, you know, it was time to cut him loose as well. He can bitch about me on the new subreddit, and I will not respond. But okay, watch and learn something. Let's look forward to the new year and getting bigger, staying focused. That's the entire plan, and that's why I ripped the band-aid off last night, so that way we can just move forward. Let's see. Ciao. Hey, BD. Love from Brazil. I've been pumping for 20 minutes. 2 days on, 1 day off. Notice I'm getting as full inside the tube as I was a month ago. Am I doing too much? At the moment, I only pump no hang. Or, you know, length work. You're not getting as full inside the tube as you were a month ago. First, did your diet change at all? Like if you had less salt, you would not carry as much water. So like that edema response will be less. Then you could be overworking, so you're not able to expand as much. You're actually getting like a stress response. So like if you take a week off and it comes back after the fact, you know you're probably overworking. 20 minutes is probably not enough to be the cause for overworking, but like the pressure would be. So like if you just started and you're trying to do like 10 inches of mercury, let's bring it down to like 7, see how you respond then. And then like if you don't have like the same issues, then that was obviously the issue, right? But like in general, pumping is pretty tame, especially at 20 minutes, 2 days on, 1 day off. So it's probably more than likely either the pressure or you're just chronically fatigued. JG, I do 10 minutes of feeder sets, 4 inches of mercury with 10 minutes of cockering after the morning or in the morning. And then afternoon, I do 20 minutes of intervals, 1 minute each, 6 to 7 inches of mercury, 3 sets of 7 soft clamping with 6 rings afterwards. Wow. At night, I do another feeder set. Is this optimal for girth? I think that's a lot of work, particularly 3 sets of 7 minutes. That's 21 minutes of soft clamping. I would personally drop one of the soft clamping sets and then don't wear a cock ring afterwards because you're going to have a lot of hypoxia buildup. I would be very concerned about erection quality, but with like how low of a pressure you're using, it's probably not going to be that notable. Like most of your stress is actually going to be coming from the soft clamping. So like if you're going to cut something, do the soft clamping first after like taking 2 or 3 days off, you know. But yeah, you might want to rework that a little bit. Did bro get a trim? If it was not obvious, yes. It was time. Again, I'm trying to change my mindset, and the easiest way was to like remind myself every time I look in the mirror that it is a new mental aspect every time I see myself. So okay, JB. Hey, BD, what do you think about softening the tunica with magnesium chloride? What? I don't know anything about that, but like, let's like walk through the logic first of why it probably won't work. You have to get through the skin. I don't know what Dalton the magnesium chloride is, but if it's over 500 Daltons, it's not going to get through the skin easily. Then, more than likely, it's going to be absorbed by the skin and then flushed out. And if any actually gets through the skin proper all the way through, it has to then get through the buccal fascia. And then it can actually start getting to the tunica. So you're probably just going to damage your skin before anything else with like doing any kind of topical agent, because it's made of the same stuff for the most part as like the tunica is. Elastin and collagen, just different ratios of it, and then some blood vessels. So yeah, like trust me, I've tried things that were softening agents like DSMO. Just dries out the skin and then you lose a decent bit of sensitivity because of it. Okay, young. The bump because of the sharp angled manual stretch on the P not going away. I've tried it for 15 years when I was a kid. So you had it for 15 years? Okay, that's strange. The only thing I could really think of is that it's either like a very old lymphoceal, or like you have like cyst almost like on your suspensory ligament. It might be worth talking to your doctor about, because like that's not something you really want to fuck with. It could be like literally nothing, but like, you know, this is your dick you're talking about, so I'd get it checked out just to be safe. So BKH and Chicane, how long ago did you talk about taking back Getting Bigger? It was literally in the first opening few minutes. Then, you know, scattered out through between, but I don't really want to make it about this because, like, again, this is all about just keeping the good vibes, and it was me or them, and I chose me. This is the easiest way to put it. I'm just curious what this message is. All right. Unhide, no, I don't know how to close it, but anyway. Turnasco, thoughts on supplements or natural consumption of beef organs, as in liver, heart, blood, bull testicles to increase testosterone. Okay, so that's not necessarily the best way to go about it, like eating organs if we're trying to boost testosterone. So like, there is benefits to eating organs. And basically, if you want to think about it, is like if you eat a red meat animal, all the parts of it is going to have all the parts that you need because you are a red meat animal. So, but you got to eat everything except for the brain, probably, and the, you know, the eyes, because, you know, but it's not going to have any magical properties that are going to increase testosterone or anything like that. Now, for supplements, like there's going to be things that are going to help stimulate hormone production, particularly like luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Those can be found in, you know, different herbals. Like if you look at Vitality, that's what we have on Leviathan Supps. You can literally just go on the back, and most of those supplements do something to testosterone, like whether it be stimulate LH, luteinizing hormone release, or blocking conversion to estrogen, something like that. I don't think we did many estrogen blockers in Vitality because like then it makes DHT higher, then you can lose your hair, but you get the point. Dashatorius. If pumping gives temporary gain, why doesn't nobody talk about? Isn't generally known? Most people heard about air pumps. Why isn't it common knowledge? Most people are not as big in debauchery as we are, right? So it's just like, and some people just don't think about sex that much, and they don't really think about their size, so like they're not going to be that into dick pumps. But remember, Adam and Eve is a thing that's like mainstream sex toys. Most guys can get a dick pump pretty easily. It's just like the dick pumps that are getting are super cheap and are for novelty purposes. So like they're not going to see like the crazy gains like we would if they continuously use it, just because like they don't know how much pressure they're using. They're probably only doing it for like maybe 10 minutes and all that jazz. Let's see what happens when I reload this. Okay. So Forsaken, I know you don't want to talk about this, and I understand it. I won't ask. What was the final straw that said, I'm going to take back Getting Bigger and kick the ball? So, again, this is more so like I wanted to do this for months at the point, but like, you know, I was more worried about the optics and everything else, and I'm just done worrying about the optics. Like, I'm going to do what I think is best. And basically, I made a post yesterday talking about how it's a really bad idea to clamp and pump at the same time, because someone else made a post with it, and then some company was promoting it at the exact same time. So I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. This is dangerous. Someone needs to speak out about it. And then within 2 hours of that post being up, I got 3 mods coming at me saying that I am just making up shit and all this other stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to be as least inflammatory as possible here. So I was like, this is it. There's no path forward with us. So either I gotta go or they gotta go. I was going to give up 3 or 4 years of work just like that, so I took the reputational hit, and that is that. They made a new subreddit, the science of PE. If you want to join, I am done. Okay, and then Errol, cool haircut, thank you. Cementing gains, is that something that has to happen as you go by repeating? Is just cementing, or is there a cementing protocol? How do you know when to cement? So in general, cementing just means overshooting. So like if you're trying to be 8 inches even, when you're done with PE, get to 8 1/4, and you're probably going to lose about 1/4 of an inch, just because you're going to lose that 2 to 5% of flexibility that you've been training, and then it sticks. As long as you have good erection quality, you'll keep all that length, and that's it. So like once you hit your goal, like do PE for another 6 months, get a little bigger than your goal, shrink. Worst case scenarios are a little too big than what you originally wanted, right? Okay, Jay, what is the new vendor affiliate rules? Can we still post reviews? So you guys can post reviews. Like if you are just an organic human who has no affiliation with a company, that's fine. But like there are people that will go on r/gettingbigger and just try to talk about some kind of product constantly, and that's what we're trying to avoid, because then it just takes away the discourse from like actual useful information about PE. Because like if you're trying to buy an extender, you can easily search these extenders, right? Like there's reviews on YouTube now, there's still a bunch of content about extenders in general on r/gettingbigger, but like if you're like Black Friday sale at xextender.com, it's not allowed. It's literally that simple. But like organic reviews, totally fine. I don't know if we're gonna have rules against people like review us on social media and get like a $10 credit or whatever. But you know, for the most part, it's just trying to keep the bullshit out of the subreddit. So Diego, yeah, you kind of look like Jesse Pinkman. My wife is watching Breaking Bad, and we have very similar brows. I will say that. So, and big ass foreheads. All right. I never understood the main argument by the mods against you, which is the conflict of interest. What is the problem with selling products you have proven to work and they're cheaper than competitors? They were concerned with me gatekeeping, and what's ironic is when this happened, like their concern with it was when I kind of let slip how much money I was making at the time. And that's when it started to sour, I noticed. And ironically enough, the guy that gave me the most shit is like, I literally said, like, if you give me a year, I can give you like a full-time position. And that's what always confuses me the most about this, is like the sudden turn heel as soon as money got involved. And like, my philosophy is when you work with me, whether you are watching me or you literally are helping me with something, everybody wins. So like, I wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to get a good product for cheap and didn't get price gouged. That's all I wanted to do. But then they made up the narrative, or I don't even know if it's made up, but basically they said I would gatekeep other vendors on I don't know what you're saying, Red, but I would minimize the impact of other vendors. But like the main rule was like, you can't just post affiliate bullshit. So that was it. That was really the main thing. Cordy, for even something like a cut up pump sleeve, it was enough to cause petechia every time while pumping. Since removing the sleeve, all the spots disappeared almost immediately. Wait, what? So like you got, it doesn't sound like petechia, because petechia is like burst blood vessels, right? If you took off the sleeve and it's gone, it's more than likely you had just like kind of like a pseudo clamp on rather than bursting of blood vessels. Let me reread that though. Oh, okay, never mind. So he took off the sleeve, and then the subsequent sessions, he stopped getting petechia. So that is completely normal, because basically if you compress the blood vessels of the skin, it's going to be like just clamping the blood vessels in the skin. So therefore, when you apply too much pressure too fast, those will burst. And one of the main reasons why I don't really use a pump sleeve is because of that, because it can really fuck up your skin if you're like too big for the pump sleeve. And like, since I'm in between size cylinders, it's hard to find a good pump sleeve, because like I can do a 2 1/8 with the top half of my dick, but the bottom half I have to use a 2 1/4. So like I don't need a pump sleeve when I use a 2 1/8 cylinder. So, you know. I don't know how if I want to answer this one. Will you address why you hate one vendor so much? So I did say exactly why I have an issue with a specific vendor in another video. You can watch it, but basically he threatened my family. Bottom line, he threatened my family, or his community did, and he has no place on the platform that I built. And yes, it's completely personal bias, but if you're a shitty person, you don't get access to the community that I built. I think that's pretty obvious. Link pumping. How does link pumping work? It doesn't work that well, if I'm being 100% honest. But basically, you have to have a cylinder that's tight enough to go around your dick. And then it needs to be like the right shape, so that way you can't get a pocket of edema. And then it works like a normal hanger at that point, where the dick is slowly pulled up into the cylinder, because the only way it can expand is upwards. But all that pressure is going to build up in your glands. And what I've noticed is, like, if you have a particularly tapered dick, you're just going to get a lot of bloat in the back side of your glands, and you're not really stretching the dick, more so that you're just stretching your frenulum. So unless you have like the perfect cylinder to match your dick, it's never going to work out properly. And this is a reason why we don't teach it here, because it's just, you need to have like the perfect solution for it, and it's just not going to make sense for most guys. Okay, Chicane. Another new question. What's the deal with collagen? Any benefits or merit for PE? Arguments for and against? Figured if anyone will know, it will be you. Cheers. So like, it is going to have very little impact ingesting collagen, because it has to be digested to be usable by the body. So like, you're going to take in all this nutrient, and then the limiting factor of penis enlargement is how fast we can build things, not the lack of nutrients. We have a very small amount of stem cells that produce proteins. We can flood the system with as much building block as we want, but there's going to be a certain point, like, we can't build any more, boss, and that's it. Or there's also the fact that this is avascular tissue. So like, even if there was a lot of nutrients, it's not going to be delivered that fast, because the tunica albuginea has no active blood supply. So the nutrients can't get to it quickly. So like, if you drink enough protein shakes, or, you know, ingest enough animal-based protein, you will be fine. Like, if you get over 50 to 75 grams of protein, it'll have just all you need for penis enlargement. Now, people are saying if you take collagen, it'll thicken your tunica faster. Like, unless you have like something wrong with how you're genetically coded, the tunica will not thicken that fast with like excess amino acid. Errol, thoughts on anti-lock? So is it anti-lysyl oxidase? Basically, for those who are uninitiated, some mad researchers in China took a, what is it called? Antibody that blocks the formation of collagen fibrils. They stuck it in a rat's dick, and then these rats' dicks grew like 20 to 30% just by like their natural erections. So it works in a lab setting, but like, any antibody is so goddamn sensitive and so short-lived that you can only do it in a lab setting at this point. So it will never be an actual viable solution for PE in its current state. But like, to me, it does just prove that the limiting factor for PE is going to be the tunica albuginea. And all the properties of the tunica albuginea are going to be the main rate limiter for gains. Ternasco, thanks for answering my question. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, dude. Tony, do you think it's harmful to pump in a deep squat position, considering you're stretching pelvic floor while pulling at the same time? Well, I have tried to I've tried to do like a Hindu squat and pumped, but like, I don't know what it is about it, but I cannot stay balanced to save my life while pumping. So like someone can try it on my behalf, but like as long as you're not like actively flexing those muscles, it's probably safe. And like if you do a wide enough position, the ischiocavernous muscles fully stretched out, I don't know how much of an impact it will have on like erect shins, but like if you might be able to do it better in like a butterfly position than anything else. So I wouldn't say do it, but it is an interesting idea. All right, Red. It's sad, but people want to do nothing but be nasty and negative online. This is the stuff we need to avoid moving forward. We are here to get tree trunks. All right. Yeah, then that's something I am a bit guilty of myself. And again, I've had a lot of like time to think about my own inner workings and my anger and stuff like that. And one of the best ways like I've seen it put is like in the concept of food. So if you're chronically eating shit, you're going to feel like shit. Same thing goes if you're chronically seeing inflammatory stuff on social media or in life, you're going to start being angry all the time and always on edge. So I've been working on cutting out all this stuff, and I've also been working a lot on like how much I react to negative things. And like I've made a lot of actual improvements lately. Like my recent actions make it seem like it wasn't, but like when I tell you this, guys, now, me taking over r/gettingbigger was not done in a place of anger. It was in a place of sake of peace for both parties, and that way we can just move on without this tension and everything hanging over our heads. So Dashatorius, is it kind of hard to believe that most get temporary gains after 10 minutes to edema in EQ, wouldn't they? I'm sure most men would love to be bigger. It seems like low-hanging fruit to me. So like I could probably convince 70% of men that they could get a dick pump and have the same erections that they had as a teenager if they just pump for 15 minutes a day with like the argument of working out. But like think about it this way, how many guys do you know actively work out? Like that's the actual barrier, is that they don't have the discipline to continuously do it. So like you need to be a bit psycho about it to actually get gains with PE, the same way of like bodybuilding. Like I would not be as big as I am both with my dick and my body if I was not like fucking insane about sticking to it. So as much as most guys would want a bigger dick, I think like you could probably convince them to get a surgery before you could make them stick to PE if it was actually that big of a deal for them. Chicane. Is there anything I can do to prevent lymphocyl? Not sure if I got one, but there's pain in the area and the sides of the base after pumping. Not sure if it was pumping or the tube size issue. So if you're getting a lymphocyl, it'd be pretty obvious because it's literally like a pearl on the side of your dick or like a little string on the side of your dick. It can happen anywhere because the lymphatic channels literally go all through in and out of your dick. So if there's not like a literal mark on your dick that protrudes, it's not a lymphocyl. You probably have like a friction irritation from pumping. Excuse me, guys. But that's going to be treated by making sure you use lube when you pump. Like again, I shove my 7-inch base into a tube that's a 1/2 inch too small for it, and all I got to do is use lube, and I have no skin irritation at the base. So best lube for it is going to be like a coconut oil or just regular lotion. Okay, Forsaken, you didn't get to answer my question yesterday. You said huge hung yogi started at 6 inches bone press because now I think he is over 9 inches non-bone press. How the fuck did he grow so much? Well, he did like compression hanging for like 6 to 7 years from what I remember. So he at least got to 6 to 8. And then the way the pneuma implant works, and so for those who don't know, yesterday we talked about a relatively well-known influencer on like LPSG and a bit on Reddit, and he has his own YouTube. He got the pneuma implant, and the way it works is that it takes your stretched flaccid size, and since he had such a stretchy flaccid, they were able to put the biggest fucking implant possible. So like if his bone press stretched flaccid was like 9.5 inches, there you go, he has a 9-inch non-bone press dick. And then there's an added benefit to the pneuma where that weight will keep your dick stretched out. So That's probably how he gained. He's not doing PE now, though, that's for sure. Derek, hello. How you put out more tutorials on PE? Those are super helpful to follow along with. So now that I took back r/gettingbigger, I feel a lot more comfortable making content for it. So like, I don't know if it's going to be Pornhub based, because like fucking half the country like cannot watch Pornhub, but I'm going to be trying to work more of like, you know, nudity based content back and make it easy to find those tutorials. Albert, best girth routine. So it's going to be dependent on what you're doing, but like in general, I made BD's roadmap to girth gains on my YouTube, and it's going to be like literally pick and choose your own routine, and it's going to basically be a lot of shit works. Pick some from each category, put it together, do it at this frequency, and then this is the progression, and there you go. So it's BD's roadmap to girth gains or something like that. Check it out on my channel. Your opinion on 2 sessions a day, separated by 7 hours, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Could this give more faster gains compared to someone who has 1 session a day? So I think what you need to do is like 1 or 2 very light sessions in the day, and then 1 hard, like fatiguing session. Those 2 sessions that are lighter are just going to keep you dilated from the work that you've done during your bigger session. So that way you get the shape changing aspect of PE, and then you get the actual growth factor release with it. But I can't tell you for certain that it's going to be more effective, because like, again, your dick can only grow so fast. If you reach the maximum stimulus and you have the right like flaccid conditions, you will grow with only touching your dick for 30 to 40 minutes. There is a super chat, so let me get this. What's the greatest size increase in both girth and length you've seen from a person that used PE, and how long did it take? Well, I wish I could have prepared for that question. Thank you for the super chat. But like the best logged one is going to be Mule Juice McQuaid, and he went from 6 to 8 inches in like about 2 years. It is like an absolutely flawless progress log. Like I don't think anyone could replicate how perfectly he did it. And then like the biggest gainer total is someone that I know from Matters of Size. 7 once 10. He started at 7. He's like 10.5 inches long now at this point. I don't know if he still does PE. Like I've only known him from other people, like, you know, talking about him, but like he has verified pictures from at least 9 to 10.5. So like, why would he lie from being at 7, you know? But there's definitely a lot of big gainers that just aren't part of the community. So like, that's why I'm like, I don't know of anyone in r/gettingbigger that put on a lot of size, but like, if you look at PE from its 30-year history, there's probably someone that went from like 6 to 10 inches somewhere. Everlasting, do you think it is okay to stretch throughout the day on top of your daily routine? Would that cause overwork? So I actually encourage that in most cases. People call them piss pools. So like every time you go to the bathroom, tug on your dick for like 40 to 60 seconds, and that's going to help elongate that tissue, and that's going to help with shape change. It's not going to be enough work to like really damage you unless you're like doing 20-minute sessions every time you take a piss. But yeah, you're fine to do that. There's just probably more effective ways to do shape change or retention. BD, what do you think about boron in relation to EQ? I've seen it mentioned a bit on r/supplements for a major boost in that area. I'm pretty sure we have boron in vitality, and it's really useful for sex hormone production. So like, it's one of the main building blocks of it, but since it's a relatively rare element, you don't get a lot of it. So like, a lot of people are actually underdosed in it. So that's going to be the main benefit from it, is that it helps you produce more sex hormone rather than it is going to help with like, you know, actual erection quality. But you know, if you can get your testosterone to normal and optimal levels, that's going to probably be way more beneficial to your sex life than anything else. Okay, Jim, do you feel guilty taking back something you gave away? Dude, honestly felt pretty terrible about it because like this entire situation could have been avoided. And I do take a lot of the blame just because a lot of it was me being reactionary and paranoid after the fact, to the point where they would no longer work with me. But at the same time, I feel like they did not fully understand me and the mission statement with r/gettingbigger. So like there was issues on both sides. I wish it didn't have to go this way. I wish I just didn't give away r/gettingbigger in the first place. But some rights or some wrongs had to be righted, and that was it. John, as a newbie just starting out, you go with low tension over a longer time initially with a size genetic extender, then move to a high tension extender? No, don't even bother with a low tension extender for that purpose. Because like the thing with high tension extenders is that it's hanging replacement. And like the difference would be like you're gonna start with like 2 pounds of hanging. You're just gonna start with 2 pounds on whatever extender that you're using. So low tension is like a completely different product at this point, where you're supposed to wear it all day. This is going to cause the tissues to elongate, and then that slight tension causes the stem cells to release matrix metalloproteinase, which breaks down the collagen to allow it to reform in this longer shape. So it's going to make you longer with your existing tissue, but it won't cause long-term growth. So entire premise of like my teachings lately is that you need both for optimal gains. And like if you're a grower, you're probably going to need that shape change help more than a shower. Alexander, all right. So uncut vacuum hanging follow-up from yesterday. Best to get semi-erect, easy to keep skin back. I haven't been able to vacuum hang quite easily, or he has been able to hang quite easily with this method. I'm down to demonstrate for the cause. So I don't know how you want to go about it, but like basically film, and like if you want me to like edit it for you, let me know, and like just email me at bd@peakmalphysique, and then I can put it together on RedGIF and you can post it for, you know, the sweet karma points. But that would be great. I'm putting that in my notepad real quick. Okay. Where did chat go? Okay, Fritzy, how long would it take to go from 4 to 7? That's going to take a while. Like, if we're just talking like linear progression, it took me like 12 years to go from 6 to 9. Granted, there was some time off and loss in size. I feel like I could do it in 8 years now. So I would say probably about 8 years. If like the stars align. So Chicane, is it safe to assume that if you grow an inch in length, you'll likely make gains in girth too? I didn't make any gains with length work and girth. I know people do sometimes, but like I would not count on gaining both. If you gain length, it's more than likely that you can gain girth and vice versa. Like everyone's able to gain. I strongly believe that it's a matter of just figuring out what the hell works for you and like how picky your dick is. But in general, it's not something you should bet on. Spaghetti and meatballs. If I skipped your question, it might be because it was picked by YouTube censorship. So like make sure you're not saying anything remotely like inflammatory, whatever it be, like anti-suicidal, overly vulgar, stuff like that. YouTube does not allow. So BD, is taking Cialis every day worth to get the optimal levels of medication in your body, which takes 5 days? I could save a lot of Cialis by taking it every other day. Do you notice a big boost after 5 days? I noticed the boost immediately, and then it stays. Like if you're really wanting to like get to optimal levels real fast, all you got to do is like whatever the half-life of 31 hours is. Let me do it real quick. And God, I don't know why Windows like search function sucks ass so bad after a decade. But anyway, 31 hours times 5. So that's 155 divided by, I was about to divide it by 5. So basically you just want to get your half-life after 5 days. So I really don't recommend doing this. So let's say you're taking 5 milligrams every day. It's going to be 5, hold on. Again, Microsoft doesn't know how to calculate or make a calculator. 5 divided by 2. So 2.5, 1.25, 0.75. So like if you take like 10 milligrams the first day and then 5 milligrams every other day, you'll be loaded technically. And like if bodybuilders do this with steroids where they will front load a double dose of their testosterone or whatever compound they're on, and that way they're at the peak of the cycle immediately, and that way they get a lot more aggressive gains right away. But obviously that hormone spike leads to a lot more side effects, so I would not recommend it for obvious reasons and legal reasons. Okay, Chicane, another new question. When you're doing interval pumping, just to clarify, do I go down from 7.5 inches of mercury to 5 inches of mercury for interval, or should I go completely fasted? You should, if you're doing interval pumping, it's going to be like go to 1 Hg so you don't lose the vacuum completely and then pump back up. For me, like my gauge says 0, but there's clearly a little bit of pressure left in the valve because like I get a good suction because of how big my base is. So like immediately go to 0, you know, whatever just keeps it in the tube, and then immediately pump back up. You do not need to go from like 5 to 7. Spaghetti, I'm not seeing it. Like, so if you could just copy and paste it, that'd be great, and I'd answer it. Okay. Haven't touched PE in most of I've done until is the pumping issue I had, which was a few weeks of pumping with stretching. I'm guessing I don't need to overload, so pumping plus manual is enough for length. Hank gained like 2 inches in length and like well over an inch in girth, probably closer to an inch and a half at this point. So yeah, you don't need a lot. It's like, I overcomplicate PE. I'm looking for optimization, but like PE's been figured out. My goal is to like figure out why it doesn't work for some people, and this is X, Y, and Z of it. So yeah, trust me, it's very easy to gain. $17.5. Okay, yeah, you could take that, but this is for the Cialis, like front loading. It's going to suck. Like your sinuses are going to be inflamed. I don't necessarily recommend doing it, but like that's how it would make sense if you're trying to get to peak levels right away. 17 milligrams is relatively safe to take if you're not on blood thinners, but like again, it could cause blood pressure issues. So it's probably not really worth it. Okay. How long did it take you to go from 7.5 to 9? And how long do you think it would take a person if they could do a flawless program of being a noob? So if I only focused on length for, I gotta answer that real quick. But if I only focused on length, what am I thinking of? It would probably take me 18 months to 2 years in like a vacuum to get to that point, because like we're talking like maybe a half an inch to 3/4 an inch a year. That would be it. But I focused on girth and I lost size because of COVID, so like I had to regain what I lost. But like with everything that I know now and how easy PE has been this year for me, I'm almost positive I could do it in half the time. Let me answer this chat real quick. Okay, because I read about Cialis taking about 5 days to achieve optimal levels. That's going to be based off of the half-life of any compound. So like since it's about 31 hours, 5 times is normally how it takes to reach peak saturation. So like since it divides by half every 31 hours, you would multiply it or divide it by half and then continuously add to know what like peak serum level is for the compound at that dose. So that's how you would figure that out. But you don't need to take Cialis every day just for like micro benefits. This is more so like if you're trying to avoid, you know, like the actual health benefits of like avoiding blood pressure issues and all that jazz with it. And I doubt Red said your dick was small. HNY, having a hard time figuring out between hanging and pumping. No way I can pump 2x a day after hanging. Is it better to go after length for a few weeks than girth to let it catch up? So like, if you don't need to pump 2 times a day, especially as a beginner, first and foremost. But I do think, how am I skipping questions, dudes? Okay, I see it. I'll come back. But I do think you should probably pump for like 10 minutes after hanging. We're gonna say, let's like do 20 minutes of hanging and then 10 minutes of pumping. That's gonna be your best bet for now. And then as you get used to it, you can slowly add in more time to either. But if like you're going for length particularly, just add stuff to focus on length. 10 minutes of girth work is gonna be enough to stimulate like the blood vessel development to fill out that new tissue. There's more effective ways to gain length if we're like looking at retention theory. So like if you really want to get crazy, you would add in like an all-day stretcher after you do your pumping, or after you do your hanging and then pump after you wear the all-day stretcher. But in general, get 20 minutes of hanging to start and then like 10 minutes of pumping, and that's all you really need as a beginner. Okay, so let me get Tiger. Can extending and all-day stretching and pumping lead to necrosis? You would have to be like really fucking your shit up. Like we're talking cutting off blood flow for a significant period of time. You are going to develop fibrosis before you develop necrosis. And fibrosis is because you're not letting the wounds heal. That's going to be like picking a scab over and over again, and then you get a scar. So as long as you're not over pumping, as long as you're not overdoing it with your extending and all-day stretching, like if you're doing high tension extending, you know, don't do it for more than an hour. And then if you're pumping, obviously don't do that more than an hour, and you won't really have any risk of fibrosis, but it's going to also be dependent on how much tension you're using. Okay, what do you think about wrapping for size retention? Is it worth it? I think there's a bit of a risk of lack of blood flow. So there's going to be more effective ways to do it. I think you'd be better off using like a silicone sleeve, because it's going to be a lot less compressive if it's the right size, but like there's just safer ways to go about it than wrapping. Also, you lose like that flaccidness, so like it's going to be pretty obvious in clothes depending on what size. So bro, 3 times a week for me, 2.5 milligrams is best for Cialis. Also, Cialis increased my flaccid length in my experience. That has definitely been reported. I haven't seen any real major benefits from Cialis, but like, again, I'm on like a shit ton of L-citrulline, and like I'm just naturally a shower, and with all the PE that I do, I'm assuming my dick is just, you know, in very good shape. It doesn't need much help. Chicane, I appreciate the answers. You are welcome. Definitely close the gaps in my knowledge. Keep up the good work. Stream has been positive vibes for sure. Keep on rocking. I am trying my best. I'm very tired, but I just, again, this is part of my life, so helping you guys. Errol, I was hospitalized with COVID. I noticed I lost a lot of my previous gains from it. Thank God someone else has experienced this. Okay, I'm just shy of where I was previous, but it's tougher to gain than when I initially gained it. So COVID takes like 6 to 8 months to actually get over. And like, you know, get rid of the inflammation, all that jazz, that stress. So like if it was, I wouldn't say 6 to 8 months, 6 to 8 weeks. So like if it's been 2 to 3 months, it's going to take a bit for you to get back up to speed, right? And then with COVID, it's a weird ass disease. Like it attacks everything, like blood vessels, all that shit. So like it literally can cause erectile dysfunction. So just keep with it. Eventually it'll be easier to gain. Once you get to a point where you feel comfortable stopping for a bit, take a month off, come back, and then it should be even easier to gain because like you lost the stress response with it. And I guess there's another part of that question. What's the correlation between COVID and shrinkage? And what should I do differently, perhaps get past my initial gain? So like, just think of more of this about a therapy perspective right now than growth. Because like we're trying to get you to return to form. Think about all the ways you can get the tissues back to full function. And then once they're healthy, we can really dial in your routine to get them to grow again. Okay. Chicane, what's an all-day stretcher? What kind of Doofenshmirtz kind of contraption? So like literally, it's a leg strap. Normally, I'm looking to see if I have the little strap, but no, I don't have the leg strap on me right now. But like you put this on your leg, you then put on like a vacuum hanger, attach it to your leg with a Velcro strap and a hook, and that's it. It literally just keeps your penis long for 2 to 4 hours at a time. Literally me. Can I pump for a longer duration using infrared heat between sets since it increases blood flow and makes the D more stretchable? I would not necessarily say you need it in between sets, but like if you do it before your session, it's going to have a decent bit of benefit. Between sessions would, or like between sets rather, is just going to complicate things where like you have to take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, you know. So like honestly, you can pump with an infrared heating pad. Just make sure the heat's relatively low so you don't burn yourself. Sammy, for girth work, are you still suggesting cock rings after pumping feeder sets? And do you do it after your main interval pumping set? Yes and yes, but remember, we're only doing it for like 10 to 20 minutes max. And there's a chance it's not needed, but this is just like my own anecdotal experience. So like if you don't want any potential lymphatic issues or increased rate of discoloration, don't do it. Love the new hair, no diddy. I don't know what no diddy is. I'm too old apparently at 28 to know this slang, but thank you. And Sammy, you're welcome for the answers. Any good sources for cylinders and pumps? I'm in Europe. So full disclaimer, I sell dick pumps at Peak Male Physique, and I missed a meeting today about setting up distribution there. But there are a few Stallion cylinders or Mustang cylinders. They're based in the UK. They'd be a really good place to go to right now. Main issue is they do a tapered cylinder from what I remember. So like you probably want to size up from size up from our recommendations. Okay, so Red, what's the best way to recover after being sick? You think taking supplements will help with recovery? I mean, they could, but like, if we're talking about from a PE perspective, it's going to be removing the stress, right? So like, you're going to have an elevated nervous system. You're going to be a bit more in a parasympathetic response, and therefore your dick's just not going to function as well. So like, we need to figure out how to get you to calm the fuck down a bit, and then we'd be able to gain. And then probably want to introduce like electrolytes, because like when you're sick, you're depleted of electrolytes because you're probably breaking a fever, sweating, therefore lack of an electrolytes. But for the most part, blood flow too would probably help, but it's not going to be like the main thing. Jay Thunder, thanks for the answer to the wrapping question. I'm cut and the silicone sleeve just keeps sliding off. What you could do is just put the vacuum hanger belt on and it would keep your dick in place. Like, that's what I know is the best fit or best way to work it. You could also try to like take a little piece of silicone sleeve and then put it over another piece of silicone sleeve, and it kind of hooks it in place and keeps you chubbed up a bit. So, you know, it's that simple. You just need a little bit of compression to keep it on. Loads. What's your opinion on my routine? 2 minutes of BFR massage, semi-erect bends, 2 minutes, 50 gua sha scrapes, 10 minutes fatigue sets, 30 seconds rest, 10 minutes high tension, 10 minutes plus air pumping, and finally retention for 10 minutes. Okay, so you mean like a cock ring afterwards? Okay, let me go through that again. You're good on tunica release and malleability stuff. 10-minute fatigue sets, 30 seconds, 10 minutes of high tension. So like this is a newbie routine. The only thing I would consider is breaking up that 10-minute high tension set into 2 5-minutes just for like blister prevention. And then if you are pumping afterwards, from my understanding, is that 10 minutes, because that's going to be fine. And then with the cock ring, you just got to be careful of lymphoseal, but like it should be good enough. Main issue, if you're a new guy, the gua sha scrapes are probably not needed, but you know. RGS, what is the minimum minutes a day for manual stretching to gain length at all? Because I don't have the time or possibility to use hanging devices. So like, I think 20 minutes is going to be like the bare minimum. I would do like, when I just started out, like it was like 10 to 15 minutes of manual stretches and like 5 to 10 minutes of like massage mechanics, jelking, and that was it. And then that's literally how I gained my first inch, guys. It was that simple of a routine, just, you know, making sure I did it every day. Granted, I was during puberty, so like who knows if it was just because I was still young and supple is a good way to put it. But yeah, it is going to be about 20 minutes, but like you don't really need more than 20 minutes in most cases. JB, I usually do length with high tension extender and took a deconditioning break. Now I feel a dull ache at the lower base. What do you think of this? Pretty normal. That's going to be like your suspensory ligament and all the other connective tissues around your dick stretching out and breaking down again. So like, you know, when you touch your toes and it's really intense in certain spots in your hamstring, if you haven't touched your toes in a while, it's even more intense. It's the same idea, except since it is not like muscle tissue, it doesn't have like the same sensory input, so it literally just feels like it's on fire. So like when you do between the cheeks stretching to get the ligaments, since the ligaments have that kind of proprioception, you feel it, but it's not going to be like the same as feeling like a muscle stretch. So like it's normal. It should stop on its own like 1 to 2 weeks max. So Jay Bates, dropped the pressure down from 10 to 9 to 8.5. Didn't get the frog croak under glance, at least not as pronounced as was. I still feel like the stretch and expansion got lower. Well, that's to be expected, right? Because like part of the expansion that you're getting is going to be edema. So like if we lower the edema response, we're going to get less expansion, but it's not going to be like usable true expansion, right? Now, the stretch is going to feel less pronounced because you're losing less pressure, but like if it's beyond your dick's normal limit, you're going to get like the breakdown of the tissue. Like it's that simple. So like you don't really have to go by feel all that much. If anything, going by feel is a little dangerous, especially as a new guy. All right, guys, I'm gonna go till 3:30, so that's like 17 minutes from now. So just letting you guys know. Mark, I've been doing 3 by 20 minutes of hanging every 2, or with a break every 2.5 minutes for a moment, then use a passive sleeve for up to 2 hours. So now 10 minutes in the pump, set after girth. Thank you in advance. Okay, let me reread that because I've been 4 hours of sleep. 3 sets, 20 minutes of hanging, of a break every 2.5 minutes. Okay, you probably don't need a break that often, but like what I would do is like 10 1-minute sets and then break that 3 by 20 minute sets up into like 5-10 minute sets, just so you get less chance of blistering, unless you're like doing compression hanging, then it's not that big of a deal. But like again, pick up the weight every 10 minutes just to like give yourself a break. Then a passive sleeve up to 4 hours. The only real issue with a sleeve, and we already talked about this, is that you can slip out of it. So like, if you're not slipping, you're fine. But like when I wear just the sleeve, my glands fall into it. And that might actually be a pretty good way to help with like foreskin restoration, because like teaches the skin to stay up like that. But that's a conversation for another day. I don't know if you need 4 hours of it, but it's probably going to work. 10 minutes of pumping right after for girth. Yeah, you're good. J-Bet's got the Joe Campaign pump. Is it compatible with the cylinders you sell? More likely than not, there's a 90% chance it came out of the same factory. The only thing that I could see being different is like the valve, and like is going to depend on like what exact model they got. But like I've used the valve that I got from a Lee Love pump. It works the exact same way with my PMP pump. So, you know, and we also sell like the actual silicone tube. So like you can plug it into anything with the right connector. So like the connector and the tube. So like if you're really concerned, just get the, you know, pump. What is it? The connection tube with it as like an add-on. We're good on those, right, Red? You can just tell me on Telegram. Chow, what does fibrosis look like? And would I be able to recognize it if I had it? So there's two different like levels of fibrosis. You can have superficial fibrosis on the tunica albuginea, and then you can have like corpus cavernosum fibrosis. So that's going to be in the penis proper. You're probably going to get the tunica fibrosis before you get the corpus cavernosum fibrosis, because the corpus cavernosum, it heals a lot faster, so you won't necessarily have as much damage. That fibrosis for like corpus cavernosum is going to be from like significant sex injuries where like you had a penile fracture, or like some severe accident where you had a lot of atrophy below the waist. So, but if it's going to be like tunica fibrosis, it's literally going to feel like a rough patch under your skin. Like the best way to describe it is literally kind of like a stuck-on sticker almost on your tunica. Like you can feel it under the skin. It's nice, rough, bumpy, and then all you really need to do is massage it every day a bit, stretch it out a bit every day, and like 1 to 2 months, there's a good chance it'll go away. But it's going to depend on how much fibrosis, and fibrosis can cause curvature as well. It's different than like Peyronie's disease. Peyronie's disease is a chronic plaque buildup, which is a form of fibrosis on its own, but it's not going to be like from injury. It just happens genetically, or, you know, congenitally. Okay, you think puberty while doing that was a tongue twister. Do you think being in puberty while doing PE it is possible to gain more than 1 inch in length in 1 year? I think so. I can't remember the exact specifics, but like my first stint at PE, I went from 6 to 7.5 inches in about 14 months. If I remember correctly, remember this was 12 years at this point. So it's definitely possible. I don't recommend teenagers to do it, because like for all you know, you're going to be a really big individual in your 20s and 30s, and then you're like too big, right? But it's possible. I don't want to say it will happen. Thank you for letting me know. No Diddy is the same as no homo. Oh, how times change. Literally me. Are bundled stretches before pumping a good idea to kind of pre-fatigue the tunica? Thanks for your time. So it works. I just don't know if it's the most effective way to do it. Like I honestly think just doing basic massage is going to be your best bang for your buck, because you're compressing and then releasing it with a more gentle approach. Bundled stretches are going to be useful for maybe like Peyronie's treatment, but like in general, I'd never really seen a lot of value to them. Okay, Jeff says, I was pretty busy today, would be doing PE at 11 p.m. be fine? Yeah, it's totally fine. If anything, it might be more beneficial, because I'm assuming you're going to bed right afterwards. That swelling is going to stick around, and that's going to help you hold that shape for longer. So like, I think one of the main benefits of pumping at night is because you're like getting super erections throughout the entire night, because your blood flow dropped, and you're just getting like that, you know, constant nocturnal erections with it. So like, honestly, doing PE at night's probably optimal when you put it in that word or perspective. Chicane. See other guys talk about their sets as a noob. Pumping, I'm guessing 2 feeder sets and then 10-minute working sets is fine. Honestly, 2 feeder sets might be too much work, but in general, it's probably good to go. Just, you know, pay attention to your erection quality. Bro, how can we measure sympathetic and parasympathetic activity? Okay, like, you would need tools to measure parasympathetic and sympathetic response. However, if you're in tuned with yourself and self-aware, it is pretty easy to tell when you're tense, right? When you are tense and worked up, you feel it. It's in your chest, it's in your arms. You just don't sit as comfortably. That's going to be parasympathetic. No, that's going to be the sympathetic, the fight response constantly on. So like, I can tell you now, if I open Reddit, I'm going to get a bit of a sympathetic response just by like trained adaptation. Now sympathetic, you're going to be relaxed. You're going to probably want to go to sleep. You're probably going to eat. And if anything, you might want to masturbate. So that's how you're going to be able to tell the difference between them. For me, when I'm actually in the parasympathetic state, everything expands from like my musculature to my breath pattern to my literal genitals. They hang lower. So that's how I can normally tell. But like, I'm pretty self-aware about this stuff. I've always had pretty good proprioception, and it takes a bit to learn how to do it as my hair falls out. Okay. Okay, what do you think about NMN? I know Hink is pretty high on it. That is nicotinamide mononucleotide. And let's see. It helps with processes in the mitochondria and anti-aging. I know Hink's really high on it. I don't know where exactly he wanted to put it in like our supplement stack, but like it's going to be in one of our supplements soon enough. So honestly, it might even be in Shield or Safeguard, but I don't feel like getting up right now to look. So I will let y'all know when I know, okay? What do you think about doing PE before sleeping? I think I answered this. I think it's highly beneficial and probably, like, if we're talking like optimization, the best time to do PE, particularly pumping, because like that swell sticks around and then you constantly have that really big erection throughout the night. Like there are mornings where I'll wake up practically my pump size with the morning wood. So like there's definitely something to it just based off of that alone. Excuse me. What do you think about the Panama implant? Is it only flaccid change? Like, is that, do you mean pneuma? If it's pneuma, it's going to be more than flaccid change. Like, so like, there's varying success for length. It's going to be either you contract a bit because you had a bad encapsulation. So like, if we're talking about implants, scar tissue will form around the implant to keep it in place. If it moves in any direction, it can cause length retraction. It can also cause like chronic pain because it's pressing against the nerve. So you do not want capsular contracture is what it's called, but you should see a little bit of an increase in length when it's put in properly, when it pulls you to the stretch flaccid length, and then that weight all day, every day is gonna help pull out more tissue. So like, you should probably gain about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch in length if you get the pneuma. It's mainly going to be for girth though, like because like they can completely control how much girth you get with it, to an extent, like how much skin you can stretch. Okay, Jay Thunder. I saw a video on using water in a vacuum cup for hanging to replace taping. Thoughts? So I actually use lotion, but like water and lotion are going to be the same things basically. Some bells do not play well with water, like Total Man bells do not play well with water in my experience. Taping is a pain in the ass, but like it's probably the best way to avoid blisters. But if you want like really big fucking glands, lotion or water method is going to do most of that for you. But like, again, there's 3 ways to put it on: taping, water, lotion. I prefer lotion just because of the, gland growth benefits. All right, so I hit the end of this. I actually feel a lot better just talking to you guys. So I'll be back again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. Reddit's a hot mess right now, so give us like a week to figure the shit out. Again, once we get past the hard part, we'll be good to go. So again, I'll see you tomorrow. And Nacho, ask that question tomorrow, okay?